when it comes down to Christine is when you think of her, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
That's a good one. I do like what probably intellectual capacity. I think she's extremely bright, and I think maybe the second thing I think about that is emotional control is other aspect I think where she can be too reactive, but I think part of what makes her really bright intellectually is she reacts to the stimuli and tries to figure out what's going on, understand that. I think it makes her very successful as a scientist, makes it more challenging when she's dealing with some political situations. Right.
Got it. So there's basically two things. One is like extreme intelligence, but at the same time she's unable to control her emotions. Is that what is that?
I think some of it, yeah. I think she struggles because she knows, like when I have follow-up discussions with her, like, hey, we maybe could have played that a little differently. You did. It's just she knows, yeah, I should have done that different. She's not one I feel like in denial at all.
Yeah.
Right? I think there's a lot of people where they do things. Maybe not 100% productive, but you go talk about it, and you can't really get them to say, yeah, that wasn't productive. I think she does a good job. I think her post-mortem on conversations, either where her and I aren't getting along with other people, is pretty spot on. It's just about in that moment.
Yeah.
How do you slow down? How do you deflect? Like, how do you change that? I think is just something where it'd be good for her to get better. Because I think a lot of people on her team, from my exposure, like she is very passionate, defends them, and does these things. And I think her intent is right. So sometimes the delivery, especially when you're telling someone they don't want to hear or they're not hearing your point, is challenging.
Yeah.
Right.
This emotional I would say lack of self-control. Would you say that, or is just when you say that you have given her the feedback? Has she changed over time based on the feedback that you have given her, or is just every time it happens again? Say, oh yeah, I'm aware, but it's not much of a change.
I think times where it goes well, and I think the problem is it depends on the situation, depends on how much built-up pieces have been there. There's like pieces where one of the things I say she's doing better, like this is going to be a hard conversation. Rather than feeling it's a bad thing, she's like, I think it'd be helpful for me to come join. I think she's doing more of that, which is good. And then I think and I think she's willing to have me go be the bad cop when people aren't doing what we need. So I think she's learned from that. And I just think a lot of it too is structurally some of the things we've done recently here have not been in her favor per se of how we've moved some of the teams and prioritized resources. And I think some of that is disconnecting from how those things have impacted you from your day-to-day. I think is hard, right? Where you go promote someone, for better or for worse, you get a veneer on them of happiness for some period of time. When you restructure someone in a way that's not favorable, you're going to get a veneer of some level of negativity. That's not really who they are, but it's how they perceive themselves based on that change until they kind of assimilate and adapt to that change. So I think those are pieces with her we just need to keep investing on. And I think the hard part for me is, like, technically she's irreplaceable for me. And so I don't view that she's holding me technically hostage versus how do I make sure I'm making the right investments to grow her. So these things she can do really well if she become more independent again and have the confidence and know how to navigate a little more smoothly, right?
When you think of her biggest strengths, obviously the intellectual capacity is one of them and the technical ability is one of them. What else is in terms of, like biggest strengths for her as a leader?
I think she has really good empathy. I think she understands what it takes for people to be successful and is concerned as a leader, especially of her team, about their career development, what they need to be successful. So I think she does that investment. I think work ethic beyond intellectual capacity is like when there's gaps, she goes and fills them. She works really hard. And I think beyond the piece of intellectual capacity is also important. We ask her to do things that no one else here has done before, and not always innovative things. It's like, go read this regulation, go figure out a protocol that adheres to these type of guidelines that aren't intellectually as interesting, but important for what her team or we need to deliver, and that she's willing to learn new things, even if it's not like that's cool and exciting, versus someone needs to know this at a level that is useful, right?
Got it. Okay. And I'm sure that you have given this feedback, but if you could, if you could just narrow down to one or two things that she needs to do to have more impact to her job, what would those two be?
I think some of it is strategy and which battles to fight, right? And then also be able to step back from some of the low-level pieces and let her team go own those, right? So I think it's moving a little bit from the tactical to the strategic. And then, I think being able to get what you need through influencing, right? And that, I think that gets to some of those, how to control your emotions, how to go influence people in a way, especially if they're not in agreement or they have something you need and they don't have enough of it, how do you convince them to give you some of that, right? So I think some of those soft skills she can refine. And I do feel like she has the capability, it's just like making sure she can, I think a lot of it I keep going back to, a little bit of that emotional control, right?
Yeah.
And how that cascades through a lot of other things, right?
One of the things that how I experienced her and a trend that I've seen with other people that I talk to is that she's not comfortable with silence. In other words, is that she's too quick of a thinker and she has to have answer for everything. Is that your experience?
She's pretty fast, yeah. I mean, I think I'm similar, and I think culturally as a company, there's some pretty bright, fast people here, and culturally I don't think we foster that well, and I'm probably guilty of that, but I definitely see, for some people, when they're in a think mode, and they're in their dramatic pause of what do I say, or what's the right path, she can probably go in and fill that gap for them, right? And maybe have the good guidance. At some point, some of those people stop talking because they can't hold serve with her. So I do think that's actually probably a good analogy of one of the things, like, be okay to ask a question and then count to 5, right? And if it goes uncomfortably long, maybe interject or follow up question. But I think making some people answer, right?
In terms of, you mentioned something that I want to dig a little bit in there, is the relationship with her team, that she wants to protect them somehow.
Paul's just in the background on it.
Yeah. Like, what is that noise?
They're doing some construction still. I mean, literally, we moved into this space a week and a half ago, and they're putting up 5 rooms. They're still putting things together, so.
So sometimes I see two different things going on. One of them is that she wants to be in control, and the other one is that she doesn't have the ability to say no to things.
She says no to things. Like, I have to do stuff, she says no, right? I do think there is an internalization of what needs to get done. And if it's not getting done, even if it's not her problem, she internalizes it. Yeah, like some of it, like right now, we're mostly kind of the assay development. Some of the engineering sits within my organization where Kristen is, and then there's my boss has another arm of our bioinformatics people, right? And our projects are dependent on these bioinformatics, and the project she's on in particular right now doesn't have the right bioinformatics people or the right number of them. So some of them don't know how to do some of the activities we need to do, and there's just not enough of them. And so when we run into challenges in timeline, that she doesn't own the whole product timeline per se, but she's dependent on this BI, like that lack of resource she over-internalizes, she's viewing it as a failure, and it's one of those where she can't control it. And I just had this discussion yesterday, you need to go to the program people and say, you aren't staffing this right. You need to go to my boss and say, you need to get the right people with the right skills here, and if not, we have to adjust expectations, right? And that's not only internal, it's we have contracts with external partners. She needs to be able to communicate that, make sure that people are aware of the issue, and that she's conveyed that, which she does, but then she conveys it in a way that is her problem. Right, and that
got it.
Rather than, hey, here's a problem. You guys should help us fix this, or our schedule's gonna get blown up.
Got it.
How do we go close this gap? And she's good at highlighting the gap. She's good at bringing it up, but she brings it up in a way like, we don't have it, we can't deliver. Right? We need this, and this. We told you that. We're not getting it. so we're already behind schedule. And instead of saying, how are we going to close this gap, right? Because it's good to escalate the gap. It's good to bring it up. It's just, and it's not that big of a message change to say, hey, this gap, what can we do here? Because if we don't do this, these are ramifications. Help me figure out how to solve it, right? And some of that is putting that up the organization into other pieces. Some of those I've tried to help her, but some of those, like, she has to go to the program lead who owns that program and say, program lead, if you say we need to meet these timelines, you have to go hunt down those resources. And not feel like it's her problem.
It's not her problem. So now, one thing that I picked her up on that, and we had a conversation about that a couple of weeks ago. And the question that she asked me was, so what happens if they don't do it? Things are not going to get done, and I need to get done. So what do I do? How do I act on that? What advice would you give her?
I say she should follow up, right? I mean, part of that is we have a lot of channels to escalate issues. Escalate them, talk about it, but she has to add, like I'm always saying, she's not a fan of the shit sandwich of a good thing, a bad thing, a good thing. I'm like, there's a reason that actually works with a lot of people. You have to say, here's where we're being successful. These are the issues. This is how we can solve them. And then at the end of that, you have to say, she needs to make other people accountable for solving them. That's not her, especially when she doesn't own it. So like I said, some of that is to the program manager, make it their problem. When the program manager is not delivering on that, make sure you have some traceability on that, and then go up the food chain above the program manager if they can't close that, right?
And she's not doing that to the extent that is required.
Well, I think the problem is she says there's a problem, right? And we can't fix it. And the program manager will come talk to me and say, why can't we fix this? And I go to the program manager, I think she's highlighted the problem. I wish her message was different, but I do think it's your job to fix this, right? To the program manager. And the program manager is, well, yeah, but like, and I'm like, but I don't want her to own a resource group that's not my resource group. She needs that support function to be there. And if you say we need to hold the schedule and we said this is what it takes, and we aren't being provided that, it's hard to say it's on us, right? So I think, some of that is playing out a little bit, but it's like just the tone of how she's handled it out of the gate, of rather getting the program manager feeling like we can't deliver, we made commitments to immediately changing it, versus making it their problem because they should have the capability to fix it, either by, well, we have to change the schedule because we can't get the resources, or we reprioritize this and get the right people on that, right?
So if it's keeping people accountable.
For things that aren't her problem.
I think
she needs more clearly delineate, this is what I have to own, and this is what other people own. And when she's dependent on those other people, like you said, maybe it's not, doesn't mean all of a sudden you have to go own that. It's how do you make them accountable that they aren't meeting their deliverables, right? And it's not a tattletale, but it is very much, if they aren't doing it and you will fail because they're not doing that, it's detrimental to you to actually not raise that issue. But some of it, with a lot of these, it's not those people are failing, they don't have the bandwidth, they don't have the capabilities. It's okay to say, this is what's lacking.
And you have given her that bit of
I have. And I do think the challenge here is this is a little bit the environmental piece. We said very aggressive schedules, right? And generally we're okay when we miss them. But the problem is we've created an environment where with some of our program management, is we don't communicate these aggressive schedules when we're doing internal product development and we miss. Okay, we had a lot of energy, we didn't make it, but we still are doing what we do. We go sign external contracts with a similar behavior pattern. And some of those contracts we sign, they don't vet, do we have the right resources in the right time windows? They don't set us timelines. And then they make us beholden to these timelines that weren't well grounded. And then you get into these storming phases. And then I think when we talk about someone Kristen trains and where she's in her career right now, that's not a good environment for her. It's not a good environment for most people. I'm not sure I would thrive dealing with those situations, but part of it is we need to change some of her behavior. And organizationally, we have to go set goals and plans that are based in reality when it's external facing, right? Because it's one thing, like, we'll take some risks internally. If we hit it, great, we're very successful. If we miss it, we're important behind, we adapt. a pharma signed to deal with us, they've got a drug compound, they're doing an FDA submission, we don't hit their marks, their program is way bigger than their investment in us, and their ability to put weight on us is much higher because they're bigger, their investment in their staff, like some of the meetings we could easily do with some of our pharma partners, they can bring 40 people, we'll bring 4, right? So it's like, when we do some of these relationships, we have to manage that more effectively. So, and that's not Kristen's problem, but I think that's part of the landscape that is creating some of these behavioral things where Kristen, I think, could grow. And that's why I don't want it also to be perceived that she's broken on some of these things, but she's dealing with a very challenging environment. And to be fair, I think the way that environment has played out with her time here has led to worse behavior than it has led to improved behavior. And some of that is, I need on macro scale, and my boss and I have to go change our resourcing, change how we do those planning with some of these partner groups to remove some of those environmental problems. And I think some of the restructuring that she's not happy about is we try to take some things off her plate to focus on what she's really good at and what her team's good at. That she can be more likely to succeed instead of having 20 things to do, she has 5 things to do, which I think will be a benefit for her, but right now mentally getting to less being a good thing is oftentimes hard for high performing people. They feel like, you know what I mean, like, it's like, because she had the reagent team and now that reagent team's going to report to me, and she did a good job of building that team, getting the right people in, and her view is like, well, it's finally something working on a huge tax, and now you take it away. I'm like, but do you want to do that long term? She's like, well, no. And I understand her conflict there. She did invest a lot in a lot of blood, sweat, tears for that. And then it's like, oh, it's kind of working. I'll just manage it because it's easy now. And then you have less to do, right? I think how she's perceived that has been a challenge with all these other factors.
Somebody mentioned that your group is known as the bucket.
That might have been Kristen.
It wasn't Kristen. It wasn't Kristen.
So part of it is, before I came here, I do think a lot of things, there are these institutional gaps. And she does a good job of filling them. And her team does some of that. But I would also say, like, generally in how we structure product development, when we do ask these little pieces, we are a little bit more of the generalist, so we do end up being kind of the peanut butter on something. So there are aspects of that is accurate, that they have not been the bucket, but they're kind of more of you the catch-all. When there's gaps, how do we fill them? And that's part of what's made her successful. Is to get to the finish line, you can't wait for the right pieces all the time. Admittedly, we can't have huge gaps where we try to make someone who's a scientist a bioinformatician on some of these, but it's that balance, and I do think the environmental aspect of that bucket perception is somewhat due to the environment that her teams had to operate in, and something we're trying to fix through resourcing, changing roles and responsibilities. And myself and Daria are actively going out and pushing on the teams. This is your job. We're not doing it anymore, right? And we're going to align on how we do some of those things and more proceduralized. So we're not debating who's doing what versus we've codified it and it's known. So.
Got it. So why would she? What can she do to make the relationship that you have with her and to make you more successful here?
To make her more successful?
To make you. How can she support you for you to do more effective at what you do?
I mean, to be honest, I think she raises the right issues. She completes a tremendous amount of work, right? I think a lot of it is just being able to navigate the political situations a little more smoothly, right? To not either ruffle her own feathers, probably is more of where I'm concerned.
Okay.
And occasionally I think she does ruffle other people's feathers, but I think a lot of the reason she ruffles other people's feathers is she's supporting our work. I don't think threaten's the right word. I think frustrated, annoyed, like inefficiencies, bad decision making, right? Or like we don't have a good schedule. Like she internalizes that and gets flustered.
Yeah.
And then that gets conveyed back out as sometimes non-productive communication. And then there are the little subtle behavioral things like you noted or someone brought up of listening a little bit more, not interjecting, letting people get their point across, making sure you've heard them. Because sometimes when you hear people and you don't agree with them, the more you make them talk, the more they will realize they're wrong versus you tell them they're wrong.
Correct.
ask them the leading questions to show that their point is invalid, right? I think that's a skill she could get a little bit better at. Because she is, most of the people she has, I don't say friction, but she is smarter and more agile, and she should take advantage of that and ask those leading questions to make people conclude they're wrong versus convince them they're wrong. Might be the one thing I think, and I know she could do that. I think it's a skill set that would be good at fostering her, right? Because that's how you sometimes get people there. Because some people, if they've decided they don't like how you're acting, etc., they will never agree to you, right? Even if you're right. And I think that's where some of the subtleties, when we get into science, a lot of people feel like it's important to be right.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I think for me, it's important to get the outcome we want. Sometimes it's less about being right, and sometimes it's about convincing other people there's a better way by them helping come to your conclusion and make them even feel like it's their conclusion.
By
leading them there and getting the outcome you want, right?
From this conversation, I think that the main message, and correct me, I'm just gonna make an assumption. I'm making an assumption here, but is the way that the one thing that you believe that she can have the most impact and is to keep people accountable and making sure that she controls her emotions to not necessarily ruffle her own feathers, but other people's feathers. I
think on both sides. I think a little bit of the kind of EQ on how to operate within herself and with others, right?
So looking forward, like 4 months from now, 6 months from now, how will you determine that she's actually making progress on everything that this coaching process is actually working for her?
I do think there's a couple stakeholders I would talk to, right? So like one of them is the program manager on some of this, like how is she operating with you?
What's her name?
Amber.
Okay, I've already talked to her. Yep.
How do you influence Amber?
Okay.
Right? How do you get Amber to do what you want? How do you convince Amber she has information she needs to be successful, right?
That's one.
And then there's ones directly with myself of like, what is your mental state? What's your willingness to take on new challenges? Where are you on the happiness meter? Because I think part of the reason we want to have this coaching is I do think she's really flustered with a lot of stuff, like to where she has a level of being a flight risk, and based on her skills and expertise, I clearly don't want to lose her, but we need to get it to where she's happy here and in a good mental state here, and feels that she's valued and able to contribute, right?
And that has been communicated to her.
I have a pretty good working relationship with her because I've worked with her before, and I came here partly because I've worked with my boss before and her, and they're two of my favorite people here in terms of interaction and their capabilities. And both of them have interesting traits in how they operate, but they're both really bright people that I think have really good hearts and intent, and sometimes how they come off isn't always how they intend to, right?
Got it. So going back to my question is, how are we on time? Are you okay?
I've got until 1.
Okay.
If you works for you.
No, that's fine. So, influencing Amber will be a sign that things is actually working well, and the other will be using you, relying more on you. How do you?
Well, I think part of it is convincing me she's. Like our interaction is she's in a more productive, positive state. Like, and I feel like for me it's a little bit about retention. I feel like I can't retain her, right? She's re-engaged and excited about what she gets to do here, right?
So what you're looking for is a sign of commitment to the organization in terms of I'm not leaving.
Enthusiasm for what we're doing.
Got it.
Which I think technically she is, but I think how we operate right now and how it's taxed her, I think she feels like, is this worth that investment for her, right?
Yeah. In my first meeting with her and previous meetings with her, she expressed somewhat of frustration in the fact that she was assigned a coach. Say, I don't need to be fixed, stuff like that. So I was thinking, this is the message that she received was, there's something wrong with me, I need to be fixed.
I wouldn't say that's 100%. So there's a couple factors of why we, so other people on my team are doing, we have like the electronic kind of survey,
Yep,
360s that we're starting to roll. Part of it is she's had a couple interesting hires, one that she inherited who wasn't very good, and another one because I joined here about maybe 7 months ago, and one of the hires who was not good, knew she wasn't good and was being counterproductive towards Kristen, as we pushed her out the door. It was actually somewhat of the weirdest exit interview I've ever had, where it was like all over the map in terms of, well, this is like why I've been successful, and then like, I'm so stressed here, I feel like I should commit suicide, and kind of like,
wow.
Okay, so coming out of that, like when I talked to HR and stuff, they're like that you should do something with Kristen, make sure that it's not related to Kristen, etc. And I'm like, I'm pretty confident in it, but I do think also some of the stuff we've talked about, I actually think rather than getting stuff electronically and her analytically be able to go through it, I think having these discussions, thinking about it, and having you be able to ask questions, having people interactive, will be good for her, right?
Yeah, one of the things that I ask, the questions, I'm interested in the answers, but I also am interested in how people respond. What words do they use? What is the sentiment that people have for her? And what I found, especially with the direct reports, is that she's looked well by the direct reports. Let's put it that way.
She looks out for her team.
She looks out for her team.
She really has a lot of empathy. Right?
So.
That's good.
I just want to mention that because I think that this is your part of the information that you need to know, that the sentiment that people have, especially direct reports through her, is pretty high.
Good.
They feel that she's empowering them, that she's protecting them. We'll talk about it once I get all the data in here. I believe that.
What about her peer group?
That's what I'm going to right now. Okay. And I believe that the pressure that she gets from she's not showing up with the peer group the way she's showing up with direct reports. And the peer group is more confrontational, let's put it that way. It's more about the frustration. She wants to protect her direct reports. I want to take care of you, blah, 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 and that's the sentiment that they have. The peer group is a little bit more, I don't know if this resonates, and I want to get your take on this. It's about who's to blame.
Why?
Who's got to blame?
Yeah. I think that's fair, and I think some of it is like intentional. I did push her on some of her peer group to be people I expect some not positive, but maybe not 100% negative, but people who see different sides of her. And I think part of it is like how she treats her team, protects and tries to. She does on the product level too, for the product. And the problem is the people who are stakeholders of that product and don't understand those challenges. It's like it's like she protects it in a way that comes off that you don't know what you're talking about, or projects like you're not meeting this product's needs, right? So,
and I think that one of the components that you mentioned earlier has a very strong correlation with that component of that, is that whatever she is into, she feels that she is responsible to deliver that, even though it's not within her scope of work.
Yeah, and she should be able to say, I don't own this, but that needs work.
Yep.
She does that well, but the problem is she acts like she owns it, internalizes it, and messages in a way, and she can't solve those problems. All of a sudden she's pushing these problems on people with no solution, no recommendation, versus this is broken, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good way to think about it.
I think that's what I see is that is one of the biggest components that I think that she needs to work on that. If that.
And also when we look at these timelines, I stepped back and I said, you guys have some runway to do this. This week didn't go well. How many more weeks do you have to recover from this week? Instead of this week didn't go well, the world is ending, right? Versus we have this runway, here's the opportunities for these levers, we have some open recs we can hire if we get these people in. Like, I don't want her to be overly optimistic, but it needs to show optimism in certain phases, and it needs to be pessimistic in certain phases, right? And some of the pessimism is, be pessimistic, do you have what you need, and go ask for it. Be pessimistic if they're not giving you what you ask for. But be optimistic they will give it to you if you ask enough times in the right way, and try to provide the right optimism. If you can give me this, we can succeed, versus you didn't give us what we need, we're failing, right? I think just how you do some of that messaging and add that positivity of, if you can just give us these few things, we're going to be on track, versus you didn't give us these few things, we're so far off track we can never get back, right?
Yeah. Or they're never going to give it to us.
Exactly, they'll never, because suppose I sat down and I got Dora, we're moving one of these key resources over. And admittedly, it's not going to be for 3 weeks, right, because we're doing a different submission. But she didn't have it, she will get it in 3 weeks and have it for the rest of the duration that covers most of her issues. And it's until we get through that 3-week gap, it's never going to happen.
Got it. So it's two things. It's getting people more accountable, and the other one is showing more optimism, positive, potential positive mindset.
A little bit of that shit sandwich of, here's the problem, here's how we could fix that problem, help me fix it.
Okay.
And so that someone like Amber, where Amber in theory should own fixing some of these things, instead she's letting Amber just own the timeline. And Amber says, you're not meeting the timeline, right? And then Kristen gets frustrated, versus Amber, you own getting these resources. You need to get these resources so we can match your timeline. You don't get those resources, you need to change that timeline.
That's very, and I assume that you already gave her that feedback.
And I do know, some of the way Amber manages timelines here is fairly destructive, right? And it's not just a Kristen problem. It's boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
This is what we said we're going to do. We're going to do it. And she's not doing enough homework of what it takes to get there. So that it's just someone's put some lines in the sand, and they didn't actually go measure where those lines should be, why they're there, versus she's got these lines. But that's where we need to go educate Amber. This is why we have to adapt. This is how to do it. How do we go fix this? Because Amber's also someone who wants to go fix problems. So that's where, instead of saying, there's a problem, you can't help me fix it, here's a problem, please make this go away. And let me know. And if you don't, I can talk to you about the ramifications of not fixing it. But I'm optimistic you can, right?
What is what I call a low hanging fruit? What is a low hanging fruit that she can actually take advantage of right now? That she can actually, start moving the needle in the right direction. What is the one thing that she can do right now, potentially can start moving the needle in the right direction?
I think it is this piece we've spent a little bit of time. It's just how do you get the right level of ownership of what is her problem, and saying, this isn't my problem, go deal with it. And I would say, somewhat jokingly, with the reagent team when we moved it, she's done a good job of I'll ask her a question on some of this because she's been more in the weeds than I have, and she's like, well, you should go talk to AJ about that, because he's your problem, right? So she's doing that in a somewhat defensive, facetious manner, but it's actually what she should do on other things, who should help you go solve that, right? So she can get some of the things that are her stress and make them other people's problems.
Got it.
But the challenge here is when she had reagents and AJ, she would still do a lot of stuff that was AJ's job or AJ's team's job, because she didn't want to overwhelm them. She was defending them, and that's why I think her team does feel really good. But the fact she does all this, she overwhelms herself, right?
Yeah.
And then the result is she doesn't feel good, even though her team's doing okay. And then because she's not feeling good when other things come in, her reaction to new things isn't good, right?
How do you consider the level of communication that she has with you? Do you seem to be surprised by her decisions all the time, or do you get surprised, or it's just you're pretty aware of what she's doing?
I'm pretty aware. Yesterday, her and Amber got into something, so I talked to Amber, and last night I had a conversation with Kristen about how they handle it. We communicate pretty well. I do think sometimes we run into our own little challenges, because I think her mental state right now, and that's where I'm struggling, is how do I get her glass half full or close to that again? So that, when I'm generally a pretty jovial person, and I'm trying to be an optimist, and I think when I push her on some of these things, let's find an optimistic piece, she becomes a little bit of the yin and yang. Well, if you're the optimist, I'll be the pessimist, right? And getting it to where she can be the optimist, and I can try to be the pessimist, and some of those things, right?
Here's an idea. And it's okay. So as I mentioned, when we started the conversation, she sent the impression that leadership, I don't know who leadership is, you or somebody else, feels that she is somewhat broken, and they're like trying to fix it before letting her go. that's
just definitely not on like we were thinking about.
That's what I
agree. That's her perception.
So I think that in order for her to start making these changes in a positive light is that is remove the fear that we have. You know, like, I mean, the biggest fears that we have is the fear that we're going to die, the fear that we don't have any money, the fear of looking bad, and the fear of getting fired. I mean, that's what
she shouldn't have any of that. And she knows that. That's where, but I can try messaging.
The assumption, you're making an assumption that she knows that. I believe that it will make a big difference for her mental state if that is explicitly.
But I've also said, a chunk of the reason I came here is for you. I want you to be successful. I'm looking out for you. And just because not every decision I make is in your favor doesn't mean that I don't value you. And like I've said to her, so I will continue to reiterate that, but I think right now it's like getting her to reset and hear me on those points, especially with some of the stuff where like, hey, we're moving the reagents out. Partly that wasn't all my decision. Partly it's how we're structuring our products and stuff.
Yep.
She hears me say these things, and then I've done something, right, that she feels is the counter of that. In long term, I do think this is in her benefit, but like getting her mentally to think
absolutely,
is really hard.
Yeah.
And I appreciate advice because I think it's accurate, and I need to find a way.
Yeah.
Right? And I think when you have your next discussion with her, I think it'd be good to reiterate like my enthusiasm,
absolutely,
my excitement where she can help us. Right?
So one of the things that I'm excited about moving over her is because all the stories that she told me and the assumptions that she was making about people are not true.
Okay, good.
You know, it's like these are things that she's actually building in her head because nobody has told her, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I go in and say, you know what, I mean, this is what I found, and this is great news for you because there is a lot of respect and a lot of good sense of you have a good standing in the company.
I agree, and she does. And
yeah,
and I think it just needs. I don't want to say it's simple because I think some of these behavioral things will be really hard to change for her. But the things that like make her successful. These are just the things that are blocking her from being extremely successful versus able to do her job, right? And
I think that is the message.
Yeah.
That you as a manager need to give her. It's like, you know, the way you got here not because of my mistakes or, you know, by luck. I mean, you worked really hard to get where you are.
And not very many people could do what you can do.
Correct.
Right?
So now, to get you to the next level, there are a couple of things that need to be changed. And that's why we invested in you. That's why we want you to be here, you know, et cetera, et cetera. All the things that you told me, these have to be rated.
It's interesting, like, earlier this week I said to her, you know, because her energy needs to change. I'm like, I want to hear the 3 things you're excited about that you or your team's working on this year. And she immediately kind of blew it off. And then last night we were having this follow-up conversation. I'm like, I'm still waiting for my list. And she's like, I was hoping you'd forget about that. I'm like, why would I forget about that? So I do think those are the types of things, like, just mentally getting her back.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at what I do. I'm successful, and she's not close to the limit of what she can do, and it's just getting her. I think, and if she's in the right mental state, I think some of these things we're talking about become a lot less. There's some behavioral pieces, but some of it, if she's in a mode where I can do whatever, a lot of things go away. Like, hey, let me go, because she actually can do some of the stuff that's missing on her teams, but she shouldn't. But it's just getting her back to where I can go solve these problems, and I can help people solve problems. And make other people own some of these problems, so I don't stress over them. I don't feel every time there's a failure it's my fault, right?
Correct. Yeah. So no. I think that as I said, you know, I mean, she's got a lot of what I call credit with all the people that I interview. That they feel good about her and they have respect for her. She can
do the job really well. Right.
And I think that is trying to narrow down to what is the 1 or 2 things that she needs to do behaviorally, because I think that that's what it's all about. That will actually be much more so the perception it changes.
Have you been through most of her people then at this point? Was that the last one?
I still missing one, and I'm gonna interview. I think that I have 5 people.
Okay.
I just interviewed one person today that now is going to be a peer, AJ.
Yeah.
So I interviewed him today. Tomorrow I'm going to Lou.
Yeah.
Good. So I did. I interview Amber. That's it. 6, 7, 8 individuals. I'm not quite sure on the names.
Did you have like Daria? Daria was on the list.
Yeah, but I haven't been able to connect with him yet.
Okay, I can hound her on that.
Yeah,
sure.
so that would be great.
That's my boss.
Yeah.
She's worked a lot with.
Yeah.
And
that would be
that's
great.
an important one. I want to make sure we get her perspective as well. But I think generally her and I are pretty well aligned on this, right?
Yeah.
I think her comment will be mostly around the emotional maturity and how she deals with adversity. But it'll be good for you to have that conversation.
Yeah. When it comes to diversity, I mean, I hope that I'm not promising here. It's just, what is your view on that? Women, men, minorities, etc.
I'm pretty good. Like, so my boss is a woman. Like, a lot of my most successful bosses I've worked for are women. When I was at Illumina, like, I had my 2 probably best bosses there were both women. Like, I think organization here, having someone like Daria, who's a senior VP and a female leader, is really good.
And the reason why I'm asking, I can see that is when we started talking with her, she mentioned something about being a woman. So I grabbed that and I said, well, tell me more about that, and then I suggested, do you think that all of the issues that you're having here and the culture is because you're a woman versus you're a man? And she was, I don't think that is relevant, which is okay, I mean.
She did tell me this.
Yeah. So and one thing that I'm a minority person, I'm a Hispanic person, and I need to be aware of how I come across as a minority with people that are not in my group.
Yeah, and I know you think about and talk about that perception way more. Like, for me, falling into the stereotype of like old white male.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it is different. Like when I go to China, some of these countries where it's like you're in that environment, you're like, wow, this is different.
It's different. Yeah.
You think differently, and I think here for women, I think the connection with her on gender here isn't that being a woman is viewed poorly or there's a challenge in development. I think when I think of her issue of emotional control aspect and society's perception of that being tied to women, which is probably not fair, I think her link of that, like, is she a shrill woman, is where that may come out. I don't think being a woman is harder to be successful here. Like, most of my top performers who report to me are also women, right? Like, I've pretty good diversity within my team. My engineers are a little bit biased in male. I think some of that is I can at least mentally rationalize if I go back and echo 15 years of who was getting educated in that space. I had a pretty built bias in that population, but I think the women's side were well represented on that. A lot of our top performers, we just promoted 5 people, 4 of which were women, right? So I think that's not a blocker for her in my perception. I think her perception
that's what I'm
behavior is some of that, right?
Yeah.
And because it was good when she did bring this up with me. She actually gave me the book that you gave her, which I'm going to read. She said she didn't feel that was the issue.
Yeah.
But I do think it.
And that's what I'm going to get into it. I'm glad that you mentioned all of these things, because then I can see that organizational, at least from you, that is not the issue. But again, for me,
but I cannot. If you hear behaviors from me or things that I'm doing.
I haven't heard. I haven't heard anything. But the only thing that I can see from that perspective is that she wants to be on equal footing to everybody else.
And she should view she is, right?
But that is not the reality, and that's the issue that I wanted to bring with her. Like, I mean, as a minority, as a person of color, I am not in the same power level as you as a white individual in front of everybody else.
When you walk in the room, it's the first time they meet. I agree.
So even if we go there at that table and we start talking, they're gonna see you differently than they see me. And it's just because that's what happens. So now I cannot go in there and expect them to see you and me equally, because that's not the way we are. So by saying here that that's not the issue, and being a woman is not an issue, it is an issue. Not necessarily organizationally, but for her to realize that she is a woman. Yeah.
And I think there is one aspect of it where it's less on the gender versus what products we're working on. Like right now, and I'm sure she's brought this up, she's on the genotyping arm, which is, I wouldn't say our old technology. That's where we make our money now. And we are doing heavy investments on our screening technology. And part of even the further conundrum here is I got pulled out, and I'm the head of all of our screening development. So I lead a broad team, and all my free time is consumed on the new product suite. We moved all the team over for the new product suite over into this building. Yeah. They're still going to be in the old building, so I'm going to be going back and forth. So the perception of what she's done, what she's built, and then all the cool stuff's happening over here, she really has to figure out how to deal with that. Because the other problem is if I was to go and say, no one's assigned any products today, who would I want to come drive some of this with me? Would be her. Okay. But the same measure is I can't take her out of what she's on now because no one else can go do what she's doing. And I think getting over the fact that you're not on the coolest thing, not because you wouldn't be the best person to do that, it's because you are so essential here. And that's actually true with my boss, is back on our genotyping, and Daria is working in that space to make sure that's completed, because without that we don't have a business. This is our future, and so scientifically, even my boss would love to be over here doing what I get to do. And so I think that would be a good one when you are able to corner Daria to have some of that discussion of how we do these products and how we reinforce it. Because like here, it's like a lot of people will like, oh, let's go treat it like a startup, we're a separate company, and I'm like, I don't want you guys to act that way, because I don't want to lose my team that's keeping our business afloat and paying the bills of what we're doing, right?
Correct. The last thing that I want to mention is I know oh my gosh, yes,
I do need to
Hey, thank you so much for this. I really, really appreciate it. It's been very, very useful.
Thank you as well.
If you have anything else that I didn't ask for, you want to let me know, please, email me. I'll send you an email.
I'd love to hear the kind of readout when you get to the end.
And one of the things that I want to do is I want to make sure that you know what you will be working on. So once we have all this data, we'll do an action plan, and that's what you will be.
It would be good to see if she would be interested once you guys have aligned on that action plan. If maybe the three of us discuss it.
Absolutely. One of the things that I want to make sure is that you have a buy-in on that. All right. Thank you so much. I can find my way out if you need to go.
Yeah, I do need to go.
Yeah. Just go ahead and I'll make myself disappear. Sorry about that.
No worries.
It's my fault. I think it's...
No worries. Actually, so you remember the layout? I better check where I'm going before these new meeting rooms.
Maybe it's in the same room, right?
I might be back. That's the way I'm used to going 12 or so.